Edit. I just want to thank everyone for their amazing comments. It has been lovely to read through so many personal stories about how loved so many of you feel by your partners. I've tried to read, comment, and upvote as many as I can, but unfortunately, I can't get through them all as there are too many. Also, I made an apostrophe error in the original post, so thank you to the person who notified me. Story 1. My wife offered me many things when we first dated, but safety was not one of them until I made a fool of myself in front of important people and she smoothly covered for me. I felt safe from myself for the first time in my life. It was a very weird feeling. Story 2. Men usually do not have a lot of people in their lives that they can confide in or get support from. Become that person to him and you are irreplaceable. Story 3. Came from a broken family. Never really had much affection growing up. What made me feel safe with my ex back then was that she would always be excited to see and talk to me. Made me feel special. She always asked me how my day was even if my day was bland and she wouldn't even care. She was someone I could be with and feel like I was at home. I messed up and I have a lot of growing up to do. I hope she is doing well for herself wherever she is. Story 4. Casually, I will feel really awful, like a globule of every negative emotion you can imagine. Nothing could help me overcome this state, and it would last for a day up to a week. When I am in that state, my girlfriend cuddles with me and plays with my beard and hair until I feel better. It gives me a sensation of, I can overcome anything. Story 5. My wife and I are expecting our first child. I'm the youngest sibling and cousin, so I've never really dealt with kids. I've been reading some baby books here and there for general tips and things to look out for. I get anxious on occasion when I start thinking about taking care of a newborn, which seems to be a pretty normal reaction. My wife has been doing loads of research on caring for newborns and parenting advice, the same kind of information I've been reading times 10. I asked her the other day when babies can start eating food other than breast milk or formula and what we would feed him. She looked me in the eyes and replied, I have no clue, but between that stack of books, our parents, and you and me, that baby is going to be very well cared for. It was like this pressure my body had become accustomed to, something I didn't even know was there, had been lifted off of me when she said that, and it made me feel very safe in our parenting abilities. I don't need to keep my fingers crossed anymore. Edit. Thanks for all the comments and private messages. My wife and I are as nervous as expected, but it appears support pours out of nearly everywhere I look, and I know our little one is going to be well taken care of. Thank you. Story 6. I'll have some really rough and negative days where I'm hard on myself. I don't like the person I am during that time, and in the past, I often would avoid others. My girlfriend lets me know that she loves me and even loves me when I'm in that negative place. It makes me feel safe emotionally and in the relationship. Story 7. A long time ago, I was dating a nice woman, and we were at the stage of our relationship where we still had our own places, but we spent all our time at her place. I was about 20. Out of nowhere, I came down with chickenpox, which I had somehow missed as a child. Adult-onset chickenpox is no joke. It was the sickest I've ever been in my life. I found myself covered in itchy blisters, soaked with fever sweat, absolutely miserable and helpless. She was right there for me, perfect and sweet, keeping me hydrated, medicated, fed, and clean, while all I had to offer her was me being dependent, unattractive, and unwell. Took about a week before I was myself again. Safety is all about being able to count on the other person when you can't take care of things yourself. And there was the proof of it right there. Story 8. Literally says, I'll fight them to anyone that upsets me. It isn't serious, but it's nice knowing she cares. That's all I need from her to feel safe. Really. Story 9. I'm an explosive ordnance disposal technician, and I had a pretty rough deployment back in 2012. Nothing too crazy at all. Just some unpleasant, grisly memories that I'd rather forget. I'm mostly over it at this point, but sometimes if I'm falling asleep or drunk, I'll get flashbacks, and she'll let me be the little spoon or hold my head in her lap until I calm down. She's the only woman to ever touch me in a comforting manner, and it's helped immensely with my nerves. I'm less irritable and anxious nowadays, and it's definitely thanks to her non-judgmental support. Story 10. My parents were real partners. They both worked very hard and supported each other. I think that would be a really great, safe feeling. I'm a very strong, self-sufficient, and capable person alone, but it would be great to double that. It has been a very hard thing to try to find. So my answer is to be an equal partner. Story 11. The most content I ever feel is spooning my girlfriend. The rest of my worldly problems melt away. Also, I am fortunate enough to have a very smart girlfriend. She lends me very good opinions on things when I ask her. This makes me feel safe in knowing that I am making the right decision with whatever it is. Hoping she is more than a girlfriend soon. Story 12. I had a really rough week at work and had some things not go my way. She texted me and let me know everything with her and our dog was fine. And then when I got home, she put crime scene investigation on so I could read my phone and relax to some Grissom. Everything that upset me and made me feel stressed and agitated floated away within 30 minutes. It's a different kind of safety, but she's the only person in the world who can comfort me like that. I love you, wife. Story 13. There is a saying that goes, men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will beat them to death. Men are most often not afraid for their physical safety in everyday life as women are. So when you talk about feeling safe, it might be a different thing for men and women. I think many men in relationships feel emotionally insecure. Men are often not as in touch with their emotions and as good at talking about them as women. My wife made me feel emotionally safe in a wonderful way just a few months after we had started dating. Where we live, the norm is for each person to pay for their own meal, tickets, or whatever on a date because gender equality is a thing. So after a few months of dating, my wife, then girlfriend, and I went to the movies and she paid for the tickets. I reached for my wallet to pay her back for my ticket, and she said, "Don't worry, it will even out over a 10-year period." I felt wonderful. She was thinking about our relationship as something that would last for 10 years. That was 12 years ago. I paid for the movie tickets last week, so I guess we're even now. Story 14. I come across as your stereotypical tough guy, but I have a lot of things going on underneath. It's rough because you become this character to the world, and it's hard to break. My ex, not when we were together but now years later, still calls me every week. She talks about my mental health, which is good because I can't talk to anyone else, and what's in my head scares me. Story 15. There's this girl in one of my classes at university who, the more time we spend together, the more apparent it is that we are on the same exact wavelength. I have not ever experienced that before. The kinship is comforting, and for the first time since maybe middle school, I do not feel entirely alone. Also, I can sense that she has genuine interest and curiosity in me as a person, which makes me happy. I have a great appreciation for her despite the fact that we are not involved on any romantic level. That actually makes it more meaningful, to be honest. Story 16. My girlfriend helps break down the emotional wall I've built for myself over the years. I suffered mental and physical abuse at the hands of my now non-alcoholic father for 10 or so years, and I was sexually abused by a now distant family member for 4. I started going to therapy when I was 10, where I was diagnosed with depression and general anxiety disorder, and I still actively go at 22. I've never had any skill with emotion, so I tend to live my life one joke at a time, never being serious. I met her freshman year of college, and I was really attracted to her wit and personality. She always tackled my self-deprecating jokes, and she wasn't afraid to call me on my nonsense. It was a slow process, but over the years I've unpacked my issues one at a time, and she's never judged me or made me feel bad for my past. Even slower was learning to really love someone, and slowest was becoming vulnerable. I'm still not perfect at it, but my absolute favorite thing is to lay my head down on her chest, and she'll gently rub it and hold me tight. She'll tell me it's all okay now, and that she loves me, and she's there for me. In my world of gray emotion, she's the only time I get to see all these other colors. In those moments, I feel so calm and happy. I'm so glad that, as a society, we're learning to let men express their emotions. Being vulnerable isn't a bad thing, and I hope anyone reading this will try to open up more, physically or mentally, to their significant other. If you take one step at a time, you'll eventually be there. I'm not yet, but I'm so incredibly lucky to have met her, and to be moving in that direction. I know I'm late to this post, so sorry for the long response, but I just couldn't pass up an opportunity to share something so special to me. Story 17. Lost my job for 9 months. My wife really worked hard to affirm me and show me love. She encouraged my job search and treated me like the man I didn't feel like. It was still a tough time, but knowing that she was there for me like that, she has my respect. Story 18. I teared up a little when I read this. It made me realize that I have never felt emotionally safe around any girl I have ever dated. I am a tall, mostly fit guy with a great job and a lot of friends. But not having a girl to feel safe and intimate around makes all my success in other parts of my life feel less satisfying. It makes me think there is something wrong with me, something I am projecting that turns girls off. Friends always assure me that is not the case and I just have to find the right one. I think having a girl who accepts you and makes you feel safe is the difference between knowing you are worthy and feeling you are worthy. Story 19. Others have said that, but my last girlfriend made me feel emotionally safe in a way I've never felt before. I knew that whenever I had a rough day for any reason, she knew how to make me feel better no matter what. If I wanted to talk about something, anything, she was always there for me, and that felt really good. Story 20. Mental health. I often have negative thoughts about myself. She cuddles up to me, puts her arms over my shoulders, and tells me that I try really hard, and even when I don't succeed, I make her happy. She pets my head and just holds herself there for a while. It is the best hug ever. Story 21. This is going to sound so dumb, but back when I used to date girls, my girlfriend would bring a small jar of jam to school sometimes. She would struggle so much to open it, and she would give it to me and I would open it immediately. I'm not going to lie, it used to make me feel good. Fast forward 5 years, and she tells me that she could always open it, except for that first day she gave it to me when she really couldn't. She said she saw how good it made me feel that first day. I started flexing in front of my friends mostly to get a laugh. But she liked the way I was acting, confident, and it made her feel good too. So basically, whenever I was having a hard day, she would bring me the jar after pretending to struggle. I'm not saying act like a damsel in distress all the time because that's annoying, but once in a while, throw a guy a bone and remind him you need him around or that having him around makes your life easier. I don't know, maybe that's stupid, but I will always remember her for that. Story 22. When I'm having a particularly sad day and I want to cry but just can't bring myself to do it, my significant other holds me and tells me that it's safe to cry and makes dinner for us and sets her own woes aside to be there for me. That's what really matters to me. Story 23. I have had severe anxiety since my dad passed away. Breathlessness, trips to the emergency room because I think I am having a heart attack, waking up gasping for air, and countless other things. I started realizing they were never as bad when she was around. I would wake up in the middle of the night, and by being able to put my hand on her, I could fall back asleep within minutes instead of hours. So, my girlfriend has done the smallest yet biggest and best thing she could. She was just there for me both physically and mentally, making me twice as strong as I ever could be without her. Story 24. Not often, but sometimes I will get very emotional. No specific feeling tied to it, just intensely vulnerable and insecure. When I start to feel very emotional, she will hold me close, nurture me, and encourage me to just let it out. And then after, she just treats me like normal. I can't stress how important that is to me. It's so scary to indulge those heightened emotional states, but she gives me the care and comfort I need to allow myself to feel. Story 25. She believes me and taught me that I am worthy of real love. I came from a very abusive home, made 1,000 times worse by my extended family helping my parents to cover it up, present a good image, and intimidate me into not exposing them. The physical abuse stopped in my early 20s when I was big enough to put up a fight, and due to me threatening to get the police involved. But then the severe psychological abuse just got worse, right up until after I was married and cut off all contact with my family. They had a knack for isolating me whenever I tried to put a stop to the abuse. They made it seem like it was easier to live with the abuse than to be alone and unloved, and that this was the only version of love I deserved. It was such a conscious effort on their part that multiple members of my family openly tried to recruit my wife into joining in on or at least accepting the abuse and scapegoating I was subjected to by much of the family. My wife was brokenhearted when she saw what my family was putting me through. I honestly believed they would recruit her into it because that is the kind of treatment I had been taught I deserved. But she told me I was not crazy for wanting better, and that it was definitely abuse. After so many years of gaslighting, it was incredible to have someone else acknowledge what I knew to be true. After years of work, I am finally in a place where I love myself. I do not feel guilty for being happy, and I am not in constant fear that my wife will stop loving me for making tiny mistakes. She saved me. Story 26. A few years ago, I was choking on a turkey sandwich the day after Thanksgiving. My wife and I were staying at my sister's house in Long Island, New York, with a few other family members. Everyone was out shopping. My wife rushed over to me, got behind me, wrapped her arms around me, and gave me the most pathetic attempt at the Heimlich maneuver in history. She was panicking and couldn't conjure up enough strength to squeeze me. She gave up and started crying in front of me on the floor. I had been choking for a while and tried doing it myself on the counter. Luckily, my sister came home and gave me the best Heimlich maneuver. My wife does not make me feel safe,